Assembled rocket delivery to the Hab Hangar in Cosmodrome, Part 1. Hello everybody and welcome back to Opafed Gaming. You're listening to the Opafed. Today we've got a brand new truck in our fleet called the Avenhorn or Avenhorn, however you'd like to say it, A15. We're going to make a courageous attempt to use it in its very first mission of delivering an assembled rocket to the Hab Hangar in Cosmodrome. Now we're at the loading site in Urska River, where we had brought the fuel stage tank 2 and 3 and the assembled engine, and then we brought the trailer, the rocket trailer, over here, and now they've put the rocket on top of the trailer for us. And we're going to try and deliver it without any incidents, which is going to be a little bit problematic, but you'll see that as we go along. So we're going to hook up to the trailer, which is the longest trailer I believe in the game. If there's longer ones, I'd like to see them. This is a really long trailer, and as you know, the Opafed is not that fond of pulling trailers, but a job's a job, and we're going to get in there, we're going to do our best. Now, backing up trailers is something that I'm not very good at. I've had enough trouble just pulling them forward. So we're going to do our best. We've got a new truck that we're going to put through the paces. We heard a lot about it. I've tested it out a little bit, and we're going to see if this is the new king of SnowRunner, because we are, well, we're not going to do any tests in deep mud, deep snow, or anything like that. What we're going to do is we're just going to use it. We're going to use it in an everyday situation, and we're going to see what the pros and cons are. Now, right off the bat, we can rule out that the Kenworth 963 will have a 3-slot cargo bed when you put the flat deck on the back, and the Avenhorn only has a 2-slot, so there's a big difference there. However, the Avenhorn has chains on his tire, so basically anywhere in Amur, or any other region for that matter in SnowRunner, the Avenhorn won't be stopped by road conditions, whereas the Kenworth does have trouble on icy roads. Like this road right here, we don't have to go to the side, other than we have to go to the side because of the off-track on the trailer, it being so long as it is. So we're going to have enough trouble with that as it is. But other than that, it's got a very capable engine in it. It's very powerful. It's got a maintenance sleeper on the back that holds an extra 300 liters of fuel. We have 400 liters of fuel in the tank, and we've got another 160, I believe, on the bumper. So we've got plenty of fuel. So we don't have to worry about that. Now, however, when you put the flat deck on the back, you lose the maintenance compartment, so you lose the 300 liters. But we'll talk about that in different missions. For now, what we got to try and concentrate on is this rocket, this assembled rocket. Now the direction you got to go is very simple. You leave the loading site and you just follow the road. There's one little detour and that's it. Other than that, you follow the road and it takes you all the way around the map, right up to the tunnel that goes to Cosmodrome. And then in Cosmodrome, it's another story. But let's take it one part at a time, because this is part 1 of the delivering of the rocket. Now the good thing, when you do get all the way around, and we get up to just before you enter the tunnel to go to Cosmodrome, there's a gas station there. So we can fuel up there, so we're not going to be worried about running out of fuel. No, fuel is not going to be an issue in this here job, this here particular job. The main issue with pulling a trailer this big is worrying about the off-track. It's not so bad pulling them over some of these here rocks and boulders, as long as they're not too big and they don't make the trailer tilt too much to one side or the other. Because then you're going to get into a little bit of trouble. So I thought, well, we'll take it slow. We'll take it easy, and will just chug up the road here, and that way if something does happen I can stop it in time before we have complete disaster. How wrong I was. Anyhow, as we're coming up around the corner here, I'm going to put it into low gear because we're going to be going down the hill, and it's a little bit slanty here, but we're going to be going downhill to what I refer to as the ski hill. You probably call it the ski hill of hell. I'm not a skier, and I don't think that the Avenhorn is much of a skier either. So the road is going to tip and tilt from side to side. It's going to have dips in it in a second here where it's covered by snow. So we're just going to have to play it by eye, and hopefully we can make it, you know, to the right spot of the side of the road, avoiding some of these here deep holes, because if you're hitting one of the holes at an angle, you could theoretically tip the truck and trailer over at the same time. Now, one thing you got to remember when you're running a trailer this big and heavy, because the trailer by itself is very heavy, and then the rocket on top of that, when they are in the tilt spot of the road and your truck is flat, when that truck and trailer go, your truck is going to go too. Sorry, when the trailer and the rocket go, your truck's going to go too. You're not going to be able to stop it. So best thing to do is just to be on the safe side, go a little bit slower, and just watch your truck. If your truck tilts too much to one side, obviously we're in the wrong spot. It's a little hard to see because that long trailer, with the camera view, I'm trying to keep it down so that you're not looking at it from the top straight down, and then the trailer gets in your way once in a while. So anyhow, over here, I always thought, you know, go a little bit to the left and ride that ridge and then pull in, and then that way the trailer can go through the little dip and then you can stay nice and flat. And that seemed to work out pretty good for me throughout several different tasks and jobs. Now, as we're coming through here, the next little part's pretty basic, pretty easy, you know, as we're going through two bridges and we're driving on an ice road. Like I always say, you know, when you're in a moor, if there is no snow on the road, consider it an ice road, because it usually is. It's all frozen over. But we don't have to worry about that because we got the chains on. So we don't have a problem with that, and we can just take our time. We're driving in a high range on the low gear, I guess is the best way to say it. In that gear, it uses the least amount of fuel if it's not laboring. If it's in the snow, it's going to use more fuel. If you're in regular automatic or regular high gear, it uses a lot of fuel, up to 24 liters per minute, which is a big difference compared to 5 or 6 that it's using right now. So we try to keep the fuel down, and then in that high range of the low gear, it chugs a little bit slower than automatic, but it does okay. You know, it's a nice soothing drive in the countryside. You're just taking her easy, not a problem, not a worry in the world, until we come up ahead here, and you can't quite see it yet, but we're going to have to go to the left for a detour because there's a little crack in the road, and there was a bridge there. The bridge has been down, it's been taken out. So we're going to have to veer off to the left. Now, as you can see, the tracks going down, do not go follow those tracks, because if you do, you'll be stuck there for a while. Just go to the right of those tracks. It does two things. One, you miss the mud pit, and two, it straightens your trailer out for the bridge. So this is the best way to go. And that mud pit is at an angle too. You don't want to hit that. Now we're about, I'd say not about halfway to the gas station, and it's been a fairly normal drive through here, and the Avenhorn is a pretty strong, capable truck, is doing a great job. Now you got to remember one thing: when you do have problems, or you get stuck, or you flip your truck, or whatever, it's not always the truck's fault. Sometimes it's the operator, as you will see. When I'm coming through here, I'm trying to stay a little wide because the trailer's so long, and I was worried about the off track. But my problem is I stayed wide too long. I should have cut in already and not worry about the rest of the trailer, but I didn't do that. I kept going, and by the time I started to cut back in, we're now at such an angle that the weight of the trailer and the rocket together did something I wasn't expecting. No, not again. What to do? Now, we're laying on our sides, and normally I used to just recover the truck and then drive back out again, but you still got the trailer laying on the side. So we called up home base. We called out for our Tuz. He came over, straightened the trailer out, straightened the truck out, fueled us up. Boy, I tell you, thanks a lot, Tuz. That great and wonderful rescue vehicle slash scout slash mobile gas station. And we're back on our way. I saved you the hassle of all the trying to straighten the truck up and straighten everything out. So anyhow, like I was saying, that was not the truck's fault. That was my fault. I didn't drive it properly, and I ended up tipping it. So I'm not going to count that as a strike against the truck. It's still doing very well and very enjoyable to drive. I love the wide stance on it with the dualies on the back. Double dualies, I guess you could call them. You know, it's very solid on the road, and he is very hard to tip. Now, of course, when a trailer and a rocket pull you over, and nothing's going to stop. Nothing's going to stop that from pulling you over. So, but anyhow, on to the rest of the delivery. We got to get up here. Now, there was a way to go down below, but there was another crack in the road that I wouldn't have been able to get through, so we had to go this way. And I don't know if you recognize this, but the little bridge up ahead there is the bridge with the Yar in the opening scene of the video. Now, I'm hoping that the bridge is still far enough away that the trailer will straighten out behind me, because if it doesn't and the back end is a little bit over too far, it could slide off the back of the bridge. Now, we don't want that to happen, so we better, before we cross all the way over, better take a look and make sure. Well, he looks pretty straight, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. You know, I'm just gonna pull it and hope for the best as we're coming across here. Maybe quickly turn around and look the other way so that I don't have to see it slide and you don't have to hear me scream as I miss the bridge. But that's not going to happen. We're going to come over here. We're going to keep it in our low gear. We're going to put it into low range now and just kind of slowly slide down the hill here, because the road does kind of tip a little bit towards the right, especially at the bottom. So I'm thinking that you gotta go to the left to try and keep the off track from hitting the electrical lines or electrical poles, but you got to come back in pretty quick too, otherwise you're at an angle on that road. So, but we just take her easy. And if we go a little bit to the right of those rocks coming up, that'll kind of tip things back a little bit more into our favor. So I think we're almost there. We got a little ways left to go. A little ice road. Now, and this road would have been really difficult, because what truck are you going to use if I didn't have the Avenhorn? You can't use the Kenworth going up here. He has a hard time going up this road by himself without pulling something, because he's got no chains. And I do believe that the Zigzag doesn't have any chains either. So you'd have to find a truck that has chains that can hold a high saddle and then do everything that we've already done up to now. And that would be pretty difficult. This truck is a real jack of all trades. And like I said, a couple of the drawbacks is the fuel consumption. You know, he uses a lot of fuel, so when you have the flat deck on, you lose the 300 liters. But if you position fuel trucks around the map, you're going to be okay. So not a real big problem. Just having the two slot cargo is also not that big a problem, especially when you only need to deliver, say, 2 loads of wooden planks or 2 loads of bricks or whatever. You know, so it all depends on how you look at it. I like it. I really like it, and it served us well in this here particular episode of SnowRunner. And we're going to see how it's going to do in part 2. Now, we're not quite at the end of part 1 yet, but it looks like we're going to be okay. Like I said, there's going to be a gas station at the top on the right hand side where we can fuel up and stay overnight, and then have a little nap, and then in the morning when we get up we will go through the tunnel and hit Cosmodrome, and that's going to be a whole nother ballgame. That's going to be a little bit more difficult, if you can believe that. That one is going to be tough. I hope that you're going to join us for that. You might want to see how this is going to end up. Boy, I'll tell you, it's an adventure. It sure is an adventure, but boy, is it ever a fun adventure. It's a lot of fun to play this game, and this particular job was probably the hardest job, well, one of the hardest I've had to do in the game so far. It had to have been one of the hardest. And that doesn't mean that what we've done today is hard, but that means that what's coming up in part 2 is what's hard. That's going to be a real treat. You don't want to miss that. Absolutely awesome gameplay today. I had a lot of fun playing this. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you got a couple of tips and tricks out of the deal, and maybe got a chance to watch the Avenhorn in action, and, you know, disregard the part where the Opafet flipped it, because that was the Opafet's fault, not the Avenhorn's fault. And maybe consider getting it. It is a downloadable DLC, so it will cost a little bit of money, but you know, I've got a lot of money already invested into the game, so well worth it. Really enjoyed this, and I hope you did too. Hope to see you back, and come and see part 2 of the assembled rocket delivery in Cosmodrome. Until then, you've been driving, not racing, but driving into snow in an Avenhorn A15 with me, the Opafet.